Hi guys, I'm back again. My name is Simarpreet Singh and I am Senior Software Developer at Cybertron Technologies. I have been working with Angular from past 4 years, and today I'm back with this video, uh, Basics of Angular Part 2, with the continuing from the previous session where we left. So in the previous session, we discussed about some topics. Let's discuss about them in a short detail. So we discussed about the installation and setup, how you can install Node and install Angular CLI, and then you can create an Angular app using some commands that I shared in the previous session. So then we discussed about the files and folder structure, where to create components and how to manage them. So then we discussed about the components and its parts. Like components has 3 or 4 files. First one is HTML file, where you write the HTML code, the basic structure of the component. And we have SCSS file where you write the design of the component. Then we have TS file, where we write the uh, functionality part, and it's a class based component, so it has a class. Then we have a spec.ts file, which is used for testing, which we don't cover in this session. So, and next we discussed about the lifecycle of a component, where we discussed about the ng on init lifecycle hook. And then we discussed about properties, interpolation, and how we can display the class properties using interpolation inside the HTML on the view to the user. Then we did some design for the components, like we moved the name and the button to left and right, how we arranged that. That was the design part. We made a header component in which we designed a title, my task list, and a button. Then I displayed you how to share data between some components using the button, obviously. Also, we discussed how to handle the events and how to get the event out of a component using event emitters. So in this session, we will be discussing about some more details about Angular, and I will be sharing a little brief introduction to uh, all these topics. And we will be making try to make an app, a working app for managing tasks. So let's get started. First of all, we have adding design, fonts, and icons. So to add design, we will be having some commands. For example, these are the commands. You can run ng add at the rate ng bootstrap slash ng hyphen bootstrap. So it will automatically add all the bootstrap required components, and you can natively install it inside your Angular app and use it. If you get any errors, you have to separately install using npm install bootstrap icons, and npm install at the rate ng bootstrap slash ng bootstrap. So let's try to install it on our system, and if I get any errors, I will try to resolve it side by side. So I have this terminal open. Let's open a new terminal to install the bootstrap. I will be having ng add slash ng, sorry, hyphen bootstrap. Try running it. Yes, it says the package will be installed, and would you like to proceed? I will say yes, definitely I want to install that. Let's wait for a second. Sometimes on this stage it gives some error because some of the dependencies that we already have installed are not matching the ng bootstrap dependencies. But for this project, I think we are having a successful install. So now we will just be having to install the bootstrap icons. I think they doesn't come with this package, so I will just run npm I hyphen save to save it in the package.json file, and I will say bootstrap icons. That was the command. Yeah. So it's installed. So let's see if our dependencies are added inside our code. So we will go to this angular.json file. It will have all the configurations. We have to find configurations and production. Inside of that, we have to find some script. Yeah, scripts and styles. It's for test. Where is the build one? Oh, I think it doesn't add it automatically. We have to install it by ourselves. So let's do it. So inside of node modules, you will see we have Bootstrap. Let's find it. Yeah, Bootstrap and Bootstrap icons. So we will need to add the CSS and JS file over here inside the script and styles section. Let's do that. Inside the JS, we have dist, and we need to find, I think it's not, sorry. Inside the Bootstrap, we go to dist. Inside of this, we have JS, and we install, yeah, Bootstrap bundle dot min dot js. I think I need to, yeah, this one. So we will just copy the relative path. Yeah, this one, and we will go back to that file, that is angular.json, and in the scripts we'll add this, and we need to add it inside a string, of course. So I will be selecting that, and in a string, yep. So that's the only script I need to add. And for the styles, we'll be going back to the Bootstrap. It's just taking time because we are setting it up for the first time in this session. So in the yeah, Bootstrap, dist, CSS, and we have this Bootstrap min CSS. Just right click, copy relative path, paste it here. And of course, we have to add the quotes to it, so that, and add comma at the end, because this uses a JSON format. So everything will be in string kind of structure. Now we have to add icons also. To add icons, we will just create a new string and find the Bootstrap icons. Here is the Bootstrap icons, and I think we should have a CSS file here. Yeah, this one. Copy relative path, edit. So before saving this, I will show you what it actually looks like without Bootstrap. Uh, so this looks like this, right? I think, yeah, this. And I think Bootstrap is already working there. Let's see if we are not having it in the SAS file, because sometimes it adds it in the SAS file. Oh, the Bootstrap is already imported, so we don't need to do that in Angular JSON. Just remove the CSS and JavaScript, because the command that we run, it already did that for us. So we just need to add the icons. So sorry for the misunderstanding. Yeah. So after adding icons, we can use the Bootstrap icons, and we can close this file. So the Bootstrap is already imported here, and we can add the designs already. So let's close it and go to our component, that is the header component. Instead of going to header, let's just go to the app component HTML and remove all the classes and design for now, because we have the Bootstrap and we will use the Bootstrap to design it. Yeah, that's it. Let's use class container. Save and check. Yes, everything is inside a container. Let's put this inside a container also. Cool. Now we have a little padding from the sides. So everything is like in a container. Okay, we don't need this hello world or anything anymore. Let's remove the unused code and continue to create some good project. In the header, we have this HTML. Let's see, we have task list, we have the add button. Okay, so now we have the bootstrap and the design added. Let's try to create a class property here so that we can define what type of the button is this. In the button, in the button.ts, let's take another input field to share the data, of course, that is classes string. Let's say class string. And by default, it's just btn, let's say, and save it. And inside of the HTML, let's use there is one directive called ng class, and we can just pass multiple kinds of options in here. But for now, let's try passing the classes string here. And let's try if it has added, yeah, it's kind of a button. So you see it has added some design. And to make it more obvious that it has added the design, let's change the class. Primary button now. Yeah, you can see that. Cool. Now for the add button design, we will pass this class string from its parent. That is the header component. Let's go to header.html and we pass a class string btn and btn success. It will give it a green color so that you know that it's a button that adds something. So actually we have to pass a string here so it doesn't give error. Either we pass a variable here or its value. So we are just passing the value directly. We are not using any variable. So let's see what's the output. Oh, it's a green button to add something in the list. Okay. Now, we have seen that how to add the bootstrap and how to add design. So from external package. So let's try to move on to the next topic, I think. Okay. So data interfaces and models. So what are data interfaces? Data models are kind of a structure of a data to represent what kind of data we are using inside of our app. So these are basically the representation of data, or you can say uh, what kind of objects are we using inside of it, what kind of properties it will have. So in the given kind of a snippet, you can see interface, we have interface and task. So we represent these data models by using interfaces and classes. So I am going to use interface for this session. So we have interface that is called task, and it has a name, date, time, and completed. So name is having a type. We have to define the types of each kind of property, what kind of property it is. If we have name, we have its kind is string. If we have date, it's all. I'm just using a string for now. You can use anything when you are making your project a complex project. For now, just let it be a string. Then we have time, it's also string. Completed, we are just using to check the status if it's true or false. So it's Boolean. So let's try to use it in our own app. So for creating models, what I will be doing is outside the components folder inside of app, I will be creating a new folder and I will name it as models. And inside models, I will add a new file. I will name it as tasks task.model.ts. So you see, it's very easy. I will write the same interface here. Interface task with a capital T, because interfaces are generally starting with T. If you have come from Java or any other language, they generally use interface and classes with a capital first letter. So it's a naming convention. So you can also follow that. Task. Now we have a name for a task. Oh, that should be a string. We have a date. It's also a string for now. We have a time when it should be done. It's also a string. And we have a completed property. Sorry for my bad spellings. It's Boolean. Okay. So now if we see, we have this kind of data for task, but one thing is missing. If you are from if you have experience with some databases and all, that is the ID. We are not using the ID here. So for now, let's take an ID and name it as a string. Oh, sorry. We can use number, because in SQL databases, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that kind of IDs. So use it as a number. Okay, let's save it. So we have this task interface, which is our data model. So now to use it in another file, we have to export it. For exporting, we use a keyword export. Just save it. And if we try to use it in our app component, yeah, what I will do is I will just remove this my name and I will use tasks equal to some array. So here, if we highlight the task, it will say that uh, app component.task is an array of type never, that it has never been defined, or it has never been uh, the property has never been defined, because so its type is also never, that it's kind of TypeScript type, that when you haven't defined the type of the property, it's taken as never. So to define the type, we put a colon, and what we are going to uh, take as type the interface task, it's automatically suggested. So I press enter, and what I will do is, so the task is just one task, but we need an array of tasks. So I put these brackets. So this task is not actually my task that I am going to use. It's if you see the definition, it's something else. So I will import it over here by myself. Import task from, and I will put a path here, that is models, or I can say dot slash models slash task dot model. Yeah, this one. So now if I go to this, it says that it's my task, interface task. That is, yeah. So save, and now we are having this task that can have a multiple tasks. Let's try to have something inside of it. I have, yeah, task which has a name, get food, which has date, let's say 20, 10, and 22. Okay, as a time, Let's keep it 12-hour format. So it's 13 and 00 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So you see, uh, until I have completed the task, it gives error because it says that it's missing a property which is ID and completed. So we can say completed is false, and we can provide an ID also, that is 123, something like that. Cool. This is our task. So we can have multiple tasks like this. I can just copy and paste it. I will change the ID to 122, 123, 124, 125. Cool. And I will change the name get food, get clothes. Its date is 21. Let's just change some data in 22. And I will say get groceries. So I just made this sample task data for you. So this is how we add interfaces and define models, what kind of data we are having, and this is how we define a sample data inside of our component, that is the app component, the parent of all components. So let's move on to the next topic, and then we see. So we are having some inbuilt directives. So what are directives? Directives are basically some classes or some attributes that we define to our components or our tags that will help us to make perform some functions or perform change the behavior of the element in the Angular app. So Angular have some inbuilt directives to manage forms, lists, and styles. So some of them are like ng-for, that is used to loop over a data. Like we just saw, we have a task array, we will loop over a data using ng-for. We have ng-if, that is used to display some directive based on some condition. If some condition is true, display this. If it's not true, display false. Doesn't display it. We have ng class. We used ng class to define style, to pass on the style using the bootstrap classes. And we have ng style also. It takes the style in key value pair. You can read more about it in the Angular docs. So let's use ng-for looping over the data that we have right now. So this is ng-for. Let's try to create some interesting thing with it. Let's move on to the HTML file. This is a header. Let's create a div. Inside this div, we will have, you can say, a card. I'm using the Bootstrap classes. You can also learn it from the Bootstrap official documentation. Just Google it, Bootstrap, and you will get it. So and I will say a p tag with some name. I'm just putting the placeholders, and a p tag with a date and time. Okay, we will do like this. Let's try to save it. Let's try to display it how it looks. So there is a card. It's a very big card because I have zoomed it over. I think now it's clear. So we have this add button, we have this card name and date time. So how to add our own data using for loop, and using for loop, we will just roll over the for loop and generate different components to display it like there are multiple tasks. Oh, sorry, I just click. Yeah. Now, what we will do is we will just put ng-for in here. You can say star ng-for, okay, and put equal to, and say let. It's just like a for loop in JavaScript. Let uh, task of tasks. I think we named it tasks, right? Yeah. And we use the interpolation again, task dot name, task dot time, task dot date. Let's see if it works. Oh, there is some error, I think. Oh, I see. Sorry for that. I think we have to use this a capital F instead of small f. Silly mistakes that we make in development. Uh, let's try now. Yeah, you see, now we have a successful list of uh, these tasks. Get food, get clothes, get groceries, and we have different dates also, I think 20, 21, 22, and the times were same like we use it in our list. Hmm. In TS file, yeah, the times are same, but the this content is different. So you can see here. So we used ng for to loop over the data in the view in the HTML also. So let's move to the next topic, that is services. So services are basically some class present in Angular which uses dependency injection design pattern. So it's a very complex design pattern designed to pass on some particular features, some particular uh, variables that are required in multiple components. So you can take it as example if you have some HTTP request that you want to make, and it's getting called in each and every file or each and every component. Like you have to get tasks multiple times, like in on a home screen you have to display the tasks. On the admin panel, some admin is looking for the tasks, so you don't define these as these requests multiple times, so you define it in a one file, and that file is called service. So let's discuss it more with by looking at an example. So to run this HTTP request, we might need a server, the JSON server, that will act as our server to which we make a call. Okay, so to do that, what we will do, we will just install a server, and I will show you how to create a demo server just for testing. Please make sure that this server is not for the development purposes, the production purposes. It's only for the development. Do not deploy it on any server. So okay, so for that we have to install a package npm install hyphen hyphen save. Oh, save. That's called JSON server, like that, and it will get installed. Okay, to how to set up this server, we have to go to package.json file. I added the command already before starting the project. So I added a start server command, and I wrote JSON hyphen server hyphen hyphen watch db.json. That means it will watch db.json file, and when the file changes, the server will restart again. So how to restart this command, how to start this command, we will say first we have to create this db.json file. Let's close all these files. Yeah, that's the last change I made. Let's close all these files. We will open it again, and let's collapse all those projects. So in the outermost directory, in the project root directory, you have to create this db.json file. I have this file already. For starting the session, I created some I created a JSON object. So this object has a tasks key, and this task key mapped to an array of some tasks. That is, I have an ID, I have name, date, time, and complete. So all these tasks have some different values, and for you can also have a different kind of key, that is, you can say users, and you can map it to some different value. So but for now we are just using tasks for testing. So we just have a tasks database, and this is our sample initial 3 values. So let's save it. And how to run this database? Just open a new terminal which we are already having. I'm just clearing it, and run the command just like we defined it in the package JSON. I defined it start colon server. So I will say npm start, npm run start colon server. Let's run it. So it says uh, we can fetch the resources from, we have the REST APIs that will be linked to this HTTP localhost 3000 and tasks. Okay, so it runs on 3000 port. So now we will create a service. Just create new. How to create services inside source? I will create inside app, just like components. I will create a new directory for services, and inside that I will have a task service. So ng generate. I think you remember how we created the components. So just like that, service, and inside services slash task. So this will tell our ng Angular CLI that ng is the name of Angular CLI, the short form to call that. So it's a nickname, you can say. Ng generate Angular CLI, just generate service for us that's called services slash task. Whenever the slash comes in, it means we are defining a path, and the last one is the service name. So just press enter. It's created. You see a service folder directory, and we see 2 files are being created. So these 2 files, the spec.ts file is always for testing, so we are not discussing it in this session, maybe in the future sessions. So this services file that we get task service.ts, we see it says export class task service. So we can just define some functions in it, just like uh, get tasks, and we'll just return task array. Uh, this is our tasks. Now we will just return the tasks array. I will say what to return. I will create a new variable tasks equal to. I will just take the tasks from app component file. It's the ts file. I will take this and put it over in the service so that I can just show you how to call the service. I will just put an empty array over here. Okay, so I assigned all the tasks to this tasks variable, and I will also write type of this. Now I'll return this dot tasks. Simple as that. So what I did after the constructor, before the constructor, I created a tasks array, which is of type the task that I defined, and it has an array of tasks which I copied over from the app component that we created in app component. And then after the constructor, I defined a get tasks function, which is returning tasks array, and I returned this class, the tasks that are in the class. So this dot tasks. So when I return it, I have to call it in the app component also. So how to call it? We have to add a constructor over here. How to do the dependency injection? We have to have a constructor over here. So this is an empty constructor. So inside this constructor, we have to create an object of that particular class, service class. So it's not an object. We are not using a new keyword or anything, but we will just say, we will just define its type. So just like I'm having a private keyword, that this variable will be private, and you can say task service and task service, just like that. So if you see, it has already imported it from the services. If it doesn't get imported, just do it yourself. It doesn't take any time. So I have a private variable task service, which refers to the task service that I created. So you see, I don't use any new keyword or anything else. So I can directly use it inside my ng on it. What will I do? I will just assign my this tasks to the tasks from this one. So this dot tasks equals task service dot get tasks. You remember I returned the tasks from this one? Yes. So this tasks is equal to the task from the task service. Let's save it and let's try to look at the output. Save it also. Currently, we are not using the tasks from the DB.json. We will do it in the future, but let's try to just create a service and use it. So the output is same. You see, yeah, no change for now. Let's move back and to the next topic. Observables in JavaScript, or in Angular, not in JavaScript, sorry. So observables are basically an interface, or a method or a way in Angular to listen to some events or to some HTTP requests to perform asynchronous actions. Just like promises in JavaScript, we have observables in Angular. So observables are part of RxJS tool or library, which is already included in Angular framework. So it is basically used to handle the events of router of form events, like to listen to a form change or form, yeah, basically the form change or whole form value change, and listen to HTTP events. The HTTP event has occurred or not. So events like that. So we will be using this observable to perform HTTP, to listen to the HTTP responses from the request that we will make to the JSON server that we created. So before discussing more about how to create HTTP requests, let's move to HTTP module. So this module is basically inbuilt HTTP module to handle the HTTP requests. We don't have to use any frameworks or tools like or libraries like Axios or Fetch API. So we can just use the inbuilt HTTP module to handle the requests from the server. Let's try to do that right now. In the service, what we will do, we will create, before creating anything over here, let's move to app module.ts, because we just discussed HTTP module. So it's a module. So all the modules in Angular goes to app module ts file. So it's a part of Angular, but we have to, it's not by default defined in the imports. So we have to define it in the imports. We will say HTTP module. See, it's not coming over here. So yeah, just let's define it over here. Oh, also it's not HTTP module, it's named as HTTP client module. I think that's the correct way of defining it. Yes, it's in at the rectangular slash common slash HTTP. So HTTP client module is present inside this directory. You can also follow the same steps to import it, save it, and move to task service. Now we can use it here. We just have to do is private, just like we use the dependency injection, we are using it here also to import that HTTP client and use it. I will just name it as HTTP and HTTP client. You see, it's automatically coming in the suggestions. So I will just hit enter. On the top, it will automatically get imported. And now I can use it to get my tasks. So what will I do is, so when we make this call, it will be returning an observable of observable. So observable takes in a generic type, because observable returns can return any type of data. It can return number, it can return strings, it can return any kind of data. So we have to define what kind of data is this. So it's a generic class. If you know what generic is, it takes a type, just like here discussed here. It takes a type, what kind of data, what kind of observable it is. So I will say it's a tasks data, like it's a task, but it's not just one task, it will be an array of tasks. So return, it will return, we will call this HTTP client uh, method to get it from the server that it's already running in here. If you see, let's write this dot HTTP that we named it over here dot get. It's just we are making a get call to get the tasks. And you see, it takes the URL, just URL. And I will say the URL is HTTP, not S, slash slash localhost slash tasks. You can see that it's giving an error. Yeah. So it says that it's kind of some request error. So what I'm going to do is, okay, let's read this to type task. It returns observable. Yeah, of course. It also returns an observable. Okay, let's try to write it again. I am not getting what's with this error. Let's try to make it some simple. I will define the base URL over here, because it's just using our local server, HTTP localhost 1000 slash tasks. So this is the URL that we are hitting. Yes, this dot HTTP dot get, of course, we need to get, and we need to pass the base URL over here. We just need the URL. So it says the get is okay. Here we need to pass on this tasks. Okay, I passed it in a wrong place earlier. Yeah, you need to pass it with the method. So the same type that you passed with that observable, you need to pass it with this function because it's also a generic function. So it takes the type to map it with the observable. So now it's returning the correct type. Let's save it and let's move to app component file. So in here, you see we cannot directly assign the observables to this value because this is the task type and this is returning us an observable. So it will be type mismatch and TypeScript doesn't allow it. So how to take observables, how to listen to observables. So to listen to observables, what observable do is observable will observe when the request is complete. But to do that, we need to subscribe to it. When we subscribe to it, it will make the request. So we use the subscribe method. It will listen to the request and it will get us a response. And we are using an arrow function if you are from JavaScript background, because Angular is already a JavaScript. We are using an arrow function, and inside of this we will say this dot tasks equal to response, because the response will be of tasks type. You can see here. Now let's save it and let's move to our running project. You see, it has changed. Cooked food, get groceries, meeting with client. And if you move to the networks tab, you can also see we have a request to localhost 3000 tasks. And it has returned three values with ID and everything that we defined in the database in the DB file. Yeah. So what you did, you created a db.json, you ran a JSON server for testing, and you make a call to get the data to and displayed it on the screen. Let's now quickly try to add the data and delete the data, and just try to add the data and delete the data. Let's quickly create the service for that. We are defining service methods. Let's add task. It will also be an observable, but I think it should be returning a task. Only one task that is added. Turn this dot http dot post. We always make post calls while adding the data. So this will also return a task. So now one thing to consider, that post call will take the body also. So this body will take task data as a body, and we will say task. Okay, now the error is gone, and we will also add a delete call. To delete, it will take an ID of the task. ID is a number observable of, let's say there is one type that works for everything, that is any. So basically this delete call will not return us anything. So we will just use any, that it can take anything for now. Sorry. We are making delete call, and we will have any as a type of the response. So for this, the delete call, we are having this base URL that is tasks. So the delete call will look something like, I will write it inside the comment here. Slash ID. This should be the delete call. So I will be concatenating it using this backtick method. And now just put a slash, sorry, it was selected. I'm just putting a slash inside here, and I will be adding ID here, dollar. So I think I'm messing it up. Yeah, cool. So we have delete task, we have add tasks. Let's try to make the interface for it in the app component.html. Yes. So before having it here, okay, let's try to make a new component, and it's basically next topic, but the routing topic. But let's create a new component, ng create component, and components slash task form. Okay. Oh, sorry, I use create. I have to use generate. Yes. Now in the components, in the task form, let's go to HTML. Let's put an H1 and say add task. Just add a new form. Add div. Add a label. The label will have a value that is name. I think I messed with the spellings. And have an input field that is type text. Have a name equal to name. And let's copy it. Let's have a date, time, and add a placeholder to it so that it has dd inputs. I'm assuming that you know what I'm doing because it's basic HTML. Hours and minutes. Yes. And let's have a button that will add, or we can just say, let's have our own button that we created. App button will have text in the string. It will have class string in these brackets, btn hyphen btn, sorry, space. It's also a string, not a value. So like this, and we'll have a handler that is, and click add task. That's it for now. So in the task form.component, we'll have add task function, which will return nothing, just void, and which will have this some coding over here to submit the form. Okay. Okay. So we have this component that is add task, and when we click the button, it will add the task. We have a form over here. Add some classes. So to look at this form, I will be just adding it for now to below the header form. I will cover the routing in the next part. So let's see. Oh, the add button is not having correct routing, correct design. Let's see why. Isn't it having the correct classes? I think it's not getting called properly. Button text, button click. Okay. This was the problem, I think. Yes, I misspelled something. So you see, we have this. I think I added some classes also in the wrong place. Let's fix that. Yeah, now it's cool. I'm not having the documentation open because I generally prefer to use documentation to look at these kind of things for designing. I'm not very good at designing, so I'm good at Angular sometimes. And I will add a little margin to all of them. Empty2. Let's see now. Yeah, it has a margin over here. Cool. Oh, I'm clicking save here. So now we can add name, we can add date, we can add hours and minutes. So let's move to the next topic, which is forms module basically that we are going to handle now. I created the form, but the form module is not right yet discussed. So the forms module is basically to handle the form events, to manage the forms more reactively, you can say. So there are two such modules, that is form module and reactive form module. Let's see how we can use them. So it's a module basically. So just below this, we will have reactive forms module. You see, it's already coming up. Yeah, we'll always add it on the top over here. So if it doesn't add, just add reactive forms module from @angular/forms because it's present in forms. So when you add it to the app component, you will also be able to use it in the task form file. Let's go to the TS file. Now I will create a new form over here. Say task form equal to new form group. Okay, you see it has also got imported, and inside of that it takes an object which will be a key value pair of the form item name and a form control. So the form item name is basically the name, and new form control, that's how we create new control. And we can have initial value over here also. Also it has some validators, inbuilt validators. You can use that. To know more, you can just I am not discussing the validators in detail. You can go to the documentation because it has very typical details about validators. You can create a custom validator also. We have time, date, new form control. The default one is empty, and validators dot required time also. Empty, and it's also required. Okay, like that. We have created a new form. So on the submit button, click. We are calling this add task. So let's try to check if the form is validated over here or not. If this dot form dot invalid, if it's invalid, it's inbuilt, it automatically checks for us. Then we will display an alert just like this. You can discuss it more, but for now, after you have displayed a message, you can just return the function so it doesn't run the other code. But if it's not invalid, you can proceed to save the data. So you can use the dependency and injection again. uh, task service, task service, and just this dot task service dot head task, and it will take the task data. So this dot task form dot value, this will give you the value of the form. So you have to again subscribe to the service and listen for the response. What I will do is I will check if the response has an ID. So the response will of the task type, yes. So it must have an ID if it has saved. Dot, sorry, if response dot ID, I will say If the ID is not there, I will alert one thing, that is save unsuccessful, or else just let's don't use else because it is just, we will just return it over here. And if the response ID is here, then we will say alert task saved. Okay, cool. So we are seeing this error over here. So what it is saying is that the data that the task that the form is giving is having not a correct form. So we will have to create it in a correct form that no null values or nothing gets passed to it. So I will take a task over here, constant task equal to this dot form dot value as task. I'll pass this task over here. Not this task, just task. So it says this task is missing the following properties, that is this, and this. But okay, so it's not again using our own task, so we have to import it again. Let's do that. From dot slash, because we are already inside a components directory, so we have to move back again and go to the models and then go to task model. Now I think it will resolve the issue. Yes. There will be one more issue sometimes, that this task that we're creating is not having an ID, but inside the models you will see we have the ID. So it will ask us to provide the ID when we are creating the task. So we can make some thing optional by just putting a question mark. So now it will not ask us to provide an ID. It will take it as sometimes ID can be there or sometimes it can be undefined. So we will just save it and close it. So now we are good to go. Let's try to add a task and refresh a page. We have forms module completed. Yes, everything is saved. And let's try to create a new task. Its name is my personal task. I will not discuss what I am going to do. The date is, I will do it on 10th of November, and the time will be 1 o'clock. Let's click add. His form is invalid. Let's try to find out why. Hmm. Okay. So basically, what I forgot to do is I forgot to link this form with our form that we created in HTML. So let's see how we can do that. You just need to remember that we created these properties, name, date, and time. So we just have to do is we have to provide a form group over here, and we have to name the form group form tasks form. Yes. And we have to provide a form control name. Form control name equals to name. First one was name. One was date. not an array. That's it. Let's try to do it again. Okay, see that it doesn't save it. Tenth of November 22 13 00, and try to add it. So the task is saved. Okay, and let's see if we have it in the list. Let's try to refresh. It's in the list. Yeah. So you see, when I click add, it doesn't get automatically refreshed. So you can do it. We will be seeing it in future how to manage that, because I will be making a new page to make this disappear from our own task list. So for now, just bear with me. Let's move to the next topic, that is Angular routing. So the routing means moving between pages, but for the single page applications, the routing means moving between components, because everything is components in single page applications. So we have to show and hide the components instead of moving between URLs and pages. Let's see how to use the inbuilt router to route between pages. So when we were initializing the app, we saw that we have a question that is asked by the Angular compiler, that we Angular CLI, that we want to add routing or not. So we clicked yes. Always click yes over there. So in the source, in the app, you will find a routing module also. This one. In here, you have to define the routes. In the line number 4, you see, you have to define the routes. You can lazy load the routes also, but I am just discussing the component routes. The lazy loading will be a complex for you, little bit complex for you. So for the beginning, let's discuss how to add routes. I will just say add a path. So it's a string. What kind of path will it take? The first route, we have to provide the objects of routes. I'm creating an object for the route. It will say add, just add, or you can say add task also. And then I will link it to a component, that is add task, or task form it was. Yes, add task will link to task form component. So if we save, and what we will do is we will just go to the app component, and we will remove this component from here. We'll save. Okay, now we'll go back to the screen. So we just have this URL. I will clear it out, everything, because I think it made a get request. And I will just type /add - task. It didn't navigate. Why didn't it navigate? Did I type it correctly? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So basically, I am not having the routing in the router outlet inside this app HTML. I have to provide the router outlet also. So let's create a tasks component also first. Let's create some components. So we have to differentiate between them. Uh, just retype the command task list component. Yes. In this component, I will take this list. and I will put it inside this HTML. The task is not coming now because we have it in the app component. Let's just move everything and leave it empty. Also remove the on in it because it will create a problem. Also remove these unused files. This also. Move it to task list component. Paste. Let's import everything. Okay, the task is missing again. Cool. Now we have it in the tasks component. Now let's create a route for app routing module to display the tasks also. Copy it. Instead of add task, we will just say empty. So the empty route will go to task form component. And in app component.html, we just have to put this router outlet over here. Just do that. And you will see the add task will go to add task and the empty route will go to add task also because I just copied it. This one, I don't have to write this. Task list component. Now it will be fixed. You'll see task list. And if I use add task, it will go to the add task. If I go back, it will again be to the task list. So this is how you add routing. Let's add routing to this little button over here and make it route to the page that we just added. So we will do it programmatically. I will show you how to control the router programmatically and how to route to different pages by just clicking a button. Let's jump into it, into the code. So that button was in the header, right? In the header.html, I think I added this listener function to listen to add task button. So let's use the router service, that is this router. It's present in angular/router, so you can type it by yourself. If it doesn't comes up over here or it gives error, check if it's up there. So now I will use this router to navigate to that page. What I will do is this dot router dot navigate by URL, and I will say slash add hyphen task. Let's check if it works. Click on it, it goes to that page. After adding, uh, clicking on add, I will route back to that page. So let's go back, and when we go to the task form and we check if the task is saved, we will route back. Just add the router to this one also. Just like before, and we will route back. refresh. Okay, let's try to add a task. Add task test. I will do it on 19th of 11 of 22 at 12:00. Add task, click OK, and it will route back, and I will see the task is here. So we have covered that we can add a task and navigate and route back just like that. Let's create a delete button and complete the app for now. And yeah, so it's in the task list. It's in the HTML. Yeah. Now, in the card body, I will take a div. I will call it, I will take these two elements in the div, and I will add a button over here. I will add classes str, in the string, btn hyphen danger. We'll see what the error is. Yeah, this one. And on button click, we will call delete task, and we have to provide a text also. Button text equals delete in a string. So in delete task, we will need the task ID to delete. So you see we have task name, task, everything. So we will just use this task dot ID inside the function. So please make sure that you just don't use the interpolation over here, because uh, when you call the listeners, you don't need interpolation to pass over the data inside of the task, inside any function, delete task function or whatever function you make. You don't need interpolation. You can directly pass on the data task.id. So, but in the p tag or any other tags where you want to display, you have to use the interpolation. And also, if you have to pass the data to another function, you don't another component. Sorry, you don't have to use the interpolation. You can directly pass the data. So let's save this and define a delete function in this. We'll get an ID and number, and this function will not do anything. So void, this will call the task service dot delete task method, and it will just take the ID. So ID of the task that we are getting dot subscribe is important. So it will return a response. So if the response comes, it means the task is deleted. We can just alert it over here. Okay. And also we have to reload the page. So you can do it with Angular also, but for now we will just be using the reload button. Or you can do one more thing. Let's do that. We'll find the index of the task to be deleted. We'll say to delete index. How many to delete? Only one. And we're good to go. So it will not reload the page. It will just delete if the response comes in. Okay, let's try it. Oh, there is an error. What it says? Okay, so anything is undefined over here. Let's try to use the console. Okay, so it says that if, oh yes, because we make the task.id optional, so it's taking it as undefined. So let's move to this, and we also have to pass a question mark. Will it work? Let's let's say, hmm, okay, we do one thing. We'll take any over here to fix it for now. Yeah, it fixed. Okay, we have delete, but it's in the bottom. Let's move it to the side with use by using Bootstrap. We use class deflex align specify see if it works or not, because I don't know what the classes are. I think I again put it in a wrong place. Let's do it like this. Yeah, this one is correct. Justify content between. Cool. Oh, we have a delete button over here. Let's try to delete the cook food. It's giving an error. Okay, so I think the delete method is not working fine. It has some problem. Let's move to the service. Okay, I didn't put the concatenation string here, like this or like this. Yes, now it should work. Task deleted. Okay, cook food is no more there. Delete, get groceries. Okay, delete. Okay, delete. Okay. And if we go to our db.json file, there is only one task left. Let's try to add another. Hello. 11, 11, 22. Add task, task save. So the task is here. And if you go to db.json file, the task is also here. Cool. So now we have a fully functional working task list app. You can improve the design, of course, by yourself. So take your time to do that. And let's move to the next topic, that is building and deploying. So to build and deploy, we have to run some commands. You can see them on the screen. To build a production ready app, you can just run this command ng-build -- configuration equal to production. Let's try it in the console. Ng-build configuration equal to, I think equal to is not visible over here. I am putting the equal to, just make sure. If I am just highlighting it, oh yes, the equal to got visible. Press enter. So when you build, you will see there will be a new folder outside the source. Just give it some time. Yes, the build is complete. Now there is a new folder called dist. So it has a subdirectory called dev create test, and it has our files to deploy, ready to deploy. Yeah. So let's see the next step. You can deploy these files. Let's see the next step. So we are going to use Firebase to deploy these files. So we have to run some commands to install the Firebase globally. npm install --- location equal to global Firebase-tools. So this will install Firebase tools inside your computer, inside your system, whatever system you are using. If you have Node.js, you must have npm. So by using npm, you can install Firebase tools. Then you can use Firebase login to log into your Firebase account. It will just use a Google account. And then you have to run the command Firebase init and Firebase deploy. So let's move right back into the project. I will say Firebase init. Just be sure that you install the Firebase tools by using the command that I just told you. So after using the command Firebase init, it will ask you what you want to do. It will say that you can, I will just expand this terminal. It will just give this cool Firebase text. And it will say that you can move around with the keys and select with the space and press enter to proceed. So I just want to set up hosting for the files, and I will press space. So it will get activated like this, and I will press enter. So it says, do you want to use it for existing project or want to create a new project? I don't have an existing project. I will create a new one. I will press enter. So it says, if you want to create a project, you can just type in a project unique project ID. I will say dev create Angular. Yeah, I don't want to name it dev create test. So it says, what would you like to call your project? It will default to the project ID. So I don't have any issues with the project ID. So let's move ahead. It's creating the project in Firebase. Let's give it a second. So Firebase is a very cool thing. It will allow you to deploy your project with 500 MBs of space for free. So now comes the question, what do you want to use as your public directory? So inside our project, it's asking where does the code lies that you want to deploy. So it's in dist/dev create -test. So we'll write that dist dev create hyphen test. Yes, this is it. So it says configure as a single page application. Is this a single page application? We will say yes, it is. Yes. So it wants us to set up automatically builds and deploy with GitHub. We don't want that right now. We'll say no. So it says file date/dev create test index.html already exists. Do you want to overwrite? No, we don't want to overwrite. So Firebase is added. So now we have to deploy it. Run the command Firebase deploy. Just like I told you in the slides, Firebase deploy. Deploying hosting. Yep, that's what we need. It's releasing the version. So the hosting URL is devcreate-angular.web.app. You can also visit that and use it. But one thing for sure, you will not be able to run the server over there. So you can just view it for now. That's how we deploy it. If you go, we change this to this. App is a similar kind of thing, but if you click add, you will see this one. But if you try to add anything, you will already trying to you already try to see there are errors regarding the localhost API because the task we were adding was on the localhost. So if you are a Node.js developer, you can use a backend. You can deploy it to your own backend and use that for the testing purposes on the Firebase also. So for now, I have tried to explain how to make Angular app and deploy it on the uh, Firebase free hosting server. So you don't have to manage the server. You don't have to take the burden of the security of this server because it's managed by Google and it's free of cost. It's 500 MB space provided to you. You can deploy anything, single page applications or whatever you want to deploy. So this is how we deploy Angular applications to Firebase. And for the next part, for any Q&A, you have any questions, you can ping me on the Twitter handle. You can follow me there. You can ask any question directly to me or tagging me. My Twitter handle is Programmer Singh, and you can find me on Twitter. And thank you for now. I'm Simranpreet Singh signing off.